r/AskReddit. Have you ever read a story on Reddit and realized you know the person in real life? What happened? I'm like 95% sure I stumbled across my manager's Reddit account a couple months ago. There were numerous points in a post I read that lined up perfectly with things he had been talking about at work for a couple of weeks beforehand, and the word use and tone matched his speaking pretty perfectly, not to mention the account name was fitting. It was super weird reading through the post and having the slow realization that it was him. I didn't mention it to him. This kind of knowledge is too powerful. We were telling our dog Walker about this crazy story from Reddit of a guy who was in the big Boston blizzard that had just happened and ran out of this rare drug used to help with organ transplants, and someone on Reddit helped him by giving him some of their same rare organ transplant drug. And he was like, that was me. I was browsing the sub for my city and saw an interesting post. I looked at the username and recognized it as an ex-coworker because the username is the same one they use on Instagram. Out of curiosity I looked to see what else they have posted and found out that they are really into taking shrooms. Never would have guessed it. This person was so straight-laced and by the book. When we worked together, I was really surprised. Shrooms will sometimes do that. It's kind of a, if something is worth doing at all, put your whole heart into it, otherwise give it up thing. They are widely regarded as effective against depression and anxiety, and that effect is one reason why. Soon after a wedding, where I was in the wedding party and knew the wife way better than I knew the husband, I found the husband on Reddit. He was so wholesome. I knew I liked him and that they were a good match, but that was just an extra layer of being happy for the wife for finding someone like that to be in her life. Technically I don't know for sure, but I have a damn good feeling. About a month or so ago a guy posted a thing saying his girlfriend believes she is a cat. He went on to explain their relationship and all her quirks and whatnot. The more I read the more it sounded like this girl I had a really complicated relationship with some years ago. Everything matched, even her age. At one point she said something about wanting to quit her job and live full time as a cat, and I swear to God this girl I knew once said the same thing to me. The girl I knew even used to meow and mew like a cat. I reached out to opt to see if we lived in the same area to find out if it was in fact her, because if so I was gonna warn him about the fact that she was very emotional, abusive and manipulative, but he never answered. I'm still fairly certain it's her though. In my town a toddler escaped from his daycare and was wandering down the middle of a busy road. He was found by a local worker after hearing multiple people honking as they drove around the kid. I posted to my town subreddit asking what the fuck was wrong with our town that no one stopped. I got a beer with another dad and he brought up the story he read in Reddit, which I had posted. I said hey, that was me, but the conversation just kept going. I don't think he heard. He probably thought, stupid, the toddler has to be at least 10 years younger than you. I once found a boy, around 4 years old, on the side of the highway in my town. I picked him up and took him to the nearest gas station. I let him go to the cooler and pick a drink while I asked the folks there who he belonged to. They knew exactly who he was, and I was able to take him straight home. His poor mother was frantic looking for him when I showed up. She had twin newborns and was exhausted and fell asleep before she locked the front door. That poor woman. My sister has a 4-year-old and twin 2-year-olds now, and the twins made it out to the street once too. One of the twins is extremely precocious with all things mechanical, and my sister has now had to install 3 forms of child-proofing on all doors and drawers because that twin keeps figuring out how to open everything despite the child-proofing. Visiting adults can never figure out how to open anything in that house. Seriously, it's like an escape room at this point, but that kid can do it quickly enough to get himself and his brother out and all the way to the street before being apprehended. I'm frankly astonished children ever survive to adulthood, given how utterly exhausting and suicidal they are. Yeah, some idiot that I was seeing briefly years ago kept mentioning Reddit in certain subs, so I started browsing because it sounded interesting. Came across a post that was undoubtedly him, had his car in it, and wording only he'd use. I was just about to text him found your Reddit profile when I clicked on his username just to find a post complaining about my leg hair and saying that I don't shut up quickly enough when he interrupts me. I shut up real quick when he never heard from me again. The reverse happened to me. About 2 years ago I was diagnosed with precancerous cells in my cervix, which simply put, translates to I didn't have cancer yet but was going to if it wasn't handled. Thank God they found it early. I posted on Reddit for a while during the whole ordeal, because I wanted to reach out to others who had gone through the same thing and learn more about the procedures, etc. Anyway, one day a friend came over and randomly asked me about it. Immediately I was confused, because I hadn't told anyone about it other than my mom, and so he kind of laughed, kind of apologized, and said he had found my Reddit and read my posts about the whole thing. Like, even my replies to comments and stuff. Lots of honest and detailed things. I mean, it wasn't a huge deal, but it was a little awkward at the time. My Bill once posted to Twitter about a fight he had gotten into with my sister. I had heard about the fight earlier from her, and the details in the post history made it obvious it was him. Everyone ganged up on him saying he was the asshole, and he was being very argumentative and aggressive with the commenters, which is so unlike him. It was bizarre. I showed the post to my husband, and didn't say another word about it to anyone. In the house in subreddit someone posted a picture of a belly dancer at a Greek restaurant they went to. I think they were there for their anniversary, and they really enjoyed the restaurant food and entertainment. I looked closely at the picture. Turned out I knew the dancer. We had taught at the same charter school about 3 years before. One of her first graders had been allowed by her mother to get ice cream every day before school at 7 AM. Every day she crossed a major thoroughfare in rush hour traffic with her older brother. One day she ran ahead and was hit by a school bus that couldn't stop in time and was killed instantly. My friend was devastated beyond belief and ended up leaving education. This started out so light-hearted and fun. Then it got incredibly and unexpectedly dark and tragic. What a heartbreaking event. Thanks for sharing. It's real life mixed in with the fantasy of Reddit. This poor girl had to explain to all the other first graders that this little girl was not coming back. Flowers were placed on her desk to remember. But it's the inner city. Sadly, kids are familiar with death. I also teach at an inner city school. I remember the first shooting at our school, where someone was killed. I came in the next day prepared to talk about it, but the kids were all okay. By my next school shooting I just followed lockdown procedure and we went about our day like nothing had happened. What really struck me later was we had SWAT running through the school chasing the shooter, and it didn't even break local news. This is an elementary school. Saw a screenshot of this tweet, and in the photo was this guy I recognized as a customer from the arcade I used to work at. He has no arms, this is relevant, and was decked out in Sonic clothes. I think his t-shirt said something like Sonic for women's rights maybe. Everyone I worked with knew him. He was really nice and amazing at playing Guitar Hero with his feet. All the comments were saying where's his arms and making fun of the Sonic outfit. Made me sad cause he's so nice. I got my girlfriend at the time into keto after discovering the subreddit. Fast forward a few months and we had both lost a bunch of weight. Then she started cheating on me. I found out, contacted the other dude and let him know the situation, and we both walked away from her. She posted on the keto sub a bit later about how she'd gone through a breakup and was emotion eating and whatever. I started to get a pit in my stomach reading it, and sure enough, when I clicked on the pic she'd posted it was her. She wasn't even a regular Reddit user, and I'm pretty sure she made that post just for me to see. I replied with, sorry for your loss, I too just went through a breakup. My GF and I started doing keto thanks to this sub, and she cheated on me after we both lost weight. Contacted the guy and we both walked away from her. Best of luck to you, Stacy. Someone posted an ATR a few months ago that seemed strikingly familiar, so I messaged him for a few minutes and learned that he was a customer with whom I'd had a bad experience earlier that day. The events he posted on Reddit had been trimmed so as to uninclude most of his worst moments. I messaged the mods proof and then posted the real story in the comments. The op was lambasted, and for a brief moment I was a minor hero. I'm only on Reddit because my ex kept telling me to go on it. I was on the relationship advice page and someone had posted about being in an open relationship with my AGF and her AGF, saying that he'd dumped one because this girl stopped wanting the open relationship and all he could think about was wanting her back, the other girl being boring and missing his now ex. Well, I'm his now ex, and I split with him because I found out he had another girlfriend in another city. Had to grab my throwaway for this. Recently, in the last week or so, I found a post on Twitter that I immediately recognized as my brother. He asked my wife to cook something for a family get-together that she's extremely allergic to, and then got upset when I tried to cook something else for her later. This was a weird read for a couple reasons. He left a lot out. Maybe it was the character limit, but I don't know why he didn't answer certain questions in the comments. It would have made him look better. He got destroyed by the sub. They called him out and then started making assumptions and called him out on those things too. He responded by kind of just saying he was wrong and agreeing with their assessments. At one point, he tried to talk about his job being hard on him, but they ripped him for that too. I don't really feel bad for him. He apologized to my wife and I a lot and has agreed to be the chef at every family function from now until the end of time. He can be insensitive and rude. None of this is secret. But I wondered why he didn't defend himself more than he did. There were a lot of comments made about him sitting around doing nothing while my wife cooked, took care of kids, etc. Multiple people asked him what he was doing during that time and he never answered. I don't get why. My wife and I have a toddler who's deaf. My brother is fluent in sign language and he's one of the only people she's comfortable around. My wife offered to cook and then took care of the other kids mostly because my brother was spending all that time interpreting Blue's Clues for our deaf 2-year-old. I mean, yeah, he still was an ass. My wife still has a rash on her neck from cooking this stupid meal he wanted. But I don't get why he didn't say the one damn thing that would make him look more human.